G'day, it's fugitive Australian journalist Shane Delling from the website and YouTube channel Kangaroo Court of Australia. Now, this is just a quick video. Scott Morrison, former Prime Minister, gave evidence yesterday in the Court of Law, Tuesday the 13th of August 2024, on behalf of Linda Reynolds, Senator Linda Reynolds, in her defamation case against Brittany Higgins. And from what I can tell, there's a very good chance that Scott Morrison has deliberately thrown Senator Linda Reynolds under a bus again. But I'll read you out a line someone put on social media. What does it say about your character if you ask Morrison to vouch for you? And that pretty well sums it up, doesn't it? If you're asking Scott Morrison, who recently perjured himself at the Robodebt Royal Commission, to give evidence on your behalf, well, you must be desperate. Now, you must remember this is Scott Morrison, the former Prime Minister, who lied about anything and everything, swore himself into 5 separate ministries secretly, perjured himself at the Robodebt Royal Commission, and protected his mates like Hillsong's Brian Houston, who was under police investigation for protecting his pedophile father. But Morrison was trying to take him to Washington to meet President Donald Trump. But I'll quickly read out a little bit of the reporting I did in relation to Scott Morrison and Robodebt, where he perjured himself. Then we'll look at the latest reporting in relation to Scott Morrison giving evidence yesterday at Senator Linda Reynolds' defamation case against Brittany Higgins. Now, on the 8th of July 2023, I published an article titled "Scott Morrison Adds Perjurer to His Resume After Findings of the Robodebt Royal Commission." And it starts off, former Prime Minister Scott Morrison was found to have given untrue evidence under oath at the Royal Commission into Robodebt scheme, which means he can now add perjurer to his long list of crimes. The Royal Commission published its report on Friday, the 7th of July 2023, and at page 102 of the Royal Commission findings, it says, "The Commission rejects as untrue Mr Morrison's evidence that he was told that income averaging, as contemplated in the executive minute, was an established practice and a foundational way in which DHS worked. It is one thing for a politician to be called a liar, but another when the Royal Commission finds they gave evidence under oath that was untrue. What makes it worse is the very sad story of the damage that Robodebt did to many lives. Yet the likes of Scott Morrison still couldn't care less." Now, the reports from Scott Morrison giving evidence yesterday at Linda Reynolds' defamation case against Brittany Higgins is that he interrupted Brittany Higgins' lawyer when she was asking a question. He spoke over the judge and he tried to suggest one question was irrelevant. Well, he's not in Parliament. You don't suggest questions are irrelevant, you answer them. Morrison told the court the allegations of a cover-up were completely and utterly false, without foundation. Of course he's going to say that because he was up to his neck in the cover-up. It's one thing for Scott Morrison to be belligerent when giving evidence at the Robodebt Royal Commission where he's giving evidence for himself. It's totally another ball game if he's given evidence on behalf of Linda Reynolds and he's talking over the judge, he's talking over Brittany Higgins' barrister, he's suggesting a question's irrelevant, because he's undermining Linda Reynolds, not himself. Because if a judge finds he's not a credible witness, well, he's ultimately finding that he wasn't credible in supporting Linda Reynolds. And Scott Morrison would know that too. So he's deliberately, I believe, being belligerent when giving evidence to try and undermine Linda Reynolds. Now, I'll read you out a comment from Twitter, from a Twitter user, Noisy Elephant, at the Noisy Trunk. And they wrote, "Scott Morrison, former Prime Minister and apparent master of the universe, took to the stand this week in what can only be described as a theatrical display of his well-practiced arrogance. If his performance at Robodebt Royal Commission was any indication, we knew we were in for a show, and Morrison didn't disappoint. From the outset, Morrison's disdain for the authority of the court was palpable. He clashed with Brittany Higgins' barrister, Rachel Young SC, making a mockery of the proceedings with his condescending tone. When asked if he was disappointed about learning of the security breach in Linda Reynolds' office 2 years after the fact, Morrison's almost flippant response revealed his complete lack of respect for the court's inquiry. After some back and forth, he quiped, "So now you've changed the question. Are you asking about the security breach or the question?" It was a moment that underscored his belief that he was in control, not the court, except he wasn't. This was the same Morrison who, when confronted with Reynolds' deplorable lying cow comment, displayed a baffling blend of moral superiority and indifference. His response, He dismissed the seriousness of the incident, suggesting that if ministers were stood down every time they had to apologise, they wouldn't be a member left standing in the Senate. The gasp from the gallery said it all. Morrison's arrogance was in full swing, his tone dripping with the confidence of a man who believes he's untouchable. But the real show came when Morrison, in classic form, tried to control the proceedings. He spoke over Justice Paul Tottle, suggesting that a question wasn't relevant, a move that was quickly shut down by the judge. It was a stark reminder of his performance during Robodebt Royal Commission, where he seemed to think that accountability was for everyone else but him. Despite being cut off and corrected, Morrison pressed on with his characteristic bravado, making it clear that he believed the court's time was less important than his own narrative. And let's not forget the strained silence that hung in the air when Morrison deflected questions about the scope of the inquiry he ordered after Higgins' allegations became public. His evasive answers, coupled with his dismissal of their relevance, only further highlighted his arrogance. It's the same Scott Morrison we saw at Robodebt Royal Commission, dodging accountability, evading direct answers, and ultimately believing that he was above it all. In the end, Scott Morrison's testimony was everything that we expected it to be: a masterclass in how to project arrogance, disregard authority, and sidestep accountability. As we've seen before, whether within the halls of Parliament or the confines of a courtroom, Morrison is committed to playing by his own rules. Thank God he's gone from Parliament. Now, at the Robodebt Royal Commission, Scott Morrison was found to have given untrue evidence. And it's hard to see Justice Paul Tottle finding much different here. Scott Morrison given arrogant and ignorant evidence didn't help his cause, but he's not on trial here. And we'll go back to the start. What does Linda Reynolds, calling Scott Morrison as a witness, say about her own character? If she's happy to call a known perjurer a compulsive liar to help support her case. Anyhow, Kangaroo Court of Australia's independent media publish a website and a YouTube channel, and I'm 100% crowdfunded from viewers like yourself, so please support my Patreon account or PayPal account. And the links are below this video on YouTube for the Patreon and PayPal account, or on my website. And please share this video on social media, and please hit the like and subscribe button. Other than that, thank you for your time and have a good day.